Welcome into I just saw the name change. Welcome into King Whale's album review party. Today we are reviewing the latest offering from Donald Glover, aka Childish Gambino, but it evidently will be his last offering as Childish Gambino, as this
Mhm,
title has now been retired. And
mhm.
of course, we are talking about Bando Stone and the New World. So, first of all, to my co-host Ty, how are you doing today? How are you feeling?
I am feeling okay.
Okay.
Okay. I have many thoughts about this album. I think us as Gambino fans, we're eating kind of good this year because we
Hmm.
got Vista, which was the like finished version of that project he released in, was it 2020
Yeah.
or something like that? That felt, I really didn't like the project.
Unfinished,
I really
honestly.
enjoyed Vista a lot more because it felt like, yeah,
It was
wait,
done.
I really hear that some tracks were just completely unfinished. Why would you release that? I don't get it. But and now we get his farewell.
Hmm.
We'll see if it sticks. How many times do we hear about farewells that are then immediately reversed in the music industry? But
Yeah.
this is a farewell to Childish Gambino.
Well, let's dive right in. So, what are your initial thoughts about hearing this album? What do you hear? What did you like about it
Um,
or
I feel
dislike
mixed.
about it?
I feel mixed. The whole I think this album is impossible to separate from him making it very clear that this is attached to a movie that has not come out yet. And so in that sense, it is a soundtrack to a movie. And I do not feel like I adequately get the full picture without the movie itself, but the album on its own, it just feels all over the place. There are moments
Hmm.
I really enjoy. There are tracks that I think are like, this is exactly what I had hoped, like maybe his career had evolved into a little bit. And then there are others where I just feel like, man, I can see a nugget of something interesting or great here that just is washed away by other production choices that don't feel interesting or engaging in a new way, that just feel kind of sloppy or messy or unfocused and all over the place. And it leaves me feeling so lukewarm, especially if I'm to consider this as a finale. As just a brief backstory, Childish Gambino's Because of the Internet was like the first one of the first albums that like I fell in love with. It was certainly
Hmm.
for the longest time like my favorite hip hop album as a kid. And I loved it so much. And I thought it was so interesting. And so to me, he always has held a special place in my heart as a musician, even if I feel in hindsight, things have kind of like washed off on how good I think they are. I can see definitely how corny he is at times. And I think some parts are just like, just really weird and not in a way that I necessarily enjoy. But I will always really enjoy his music, I think, at its
Hmm.
core level. And I think this might be one of the least enjoyable albums. It might be the least enjoyable of his
Wow.
5 run discography. And
Do you mean
it,
as Childish Gambino? Because I
as
think the one in
Childish,
2020 was released as Donald Glover, if I'm not
I,
mistaken.
though, but then when it came out as Vista, wasn't it put under as
Donald,
Childish Gambino, or was it?
that's a good question. Let me look
Because
it up real quick.
I thought it was.
Mm,
Yeah, Vista is listed as a Childish Gambino.
okay.
The 2021, I don't think wasn't.
So 315. So I'm just basically, did you like this album more than 31520 that came out in 2020? Or do you think that one was better than this one?
I think it might be, well, again, like Vista. Like I don't think that project is good
Oh,
because Vista
because
is just
it's Gotcha. I
It's just
understand
that,
now.
but like finished.
Yeah.
Um, I think Adavista is probably better. Although I will say this has higher highs, but I think Adavista is better overall
I see what you're saying. And I still
as
need
a
to
whole.
listen to Adavista. So that's probably why I wasn't quite getting
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Gotcha.
Hmm.
My bad. So but I want to hear what you think. What's your takeaway? What's your initial thoughts?
I think there's just a lot of skips. Like that's kind of
Yeah.
my like I hate to kind of like start it off like that. Because I think it's like I enjoyed it. Like it was a very solid, but I think I got to the point where I'm like I grew up on Camp, like Camp was his first album and it was like describing what it's like to be in a teenage boy's head almost. And I was like, wow, this is very accurate. I feel
Mhm.
these things. Uh and it used to be that like this feels like a cross between Awaken My Love and Because of the Internet. And it feels like ever since he finished Awaken My Love, and then like even on like 3:15:20, it feels like he was still trying to decide what artist he was. And he was kind of like, if I combine everything that I can do, it will make this incredible work of art. And it's almost like, yeah, but like it kind of comes off as messy in a
Mhm.
way. And like for me on this song, the thing I was surprised by is like I found myself skipping all the rap tracks. Like any track that he was rapping on, the only
Mhm.
one that like I really liked his verses on were Lithonia, and I could barely hear him. Because again, he
Mhm.
wants to use like I know he wants to use his innovative artistic, mixing style where like you gotta really strain to hear the vocals and stuff, but at the same time just let me hear what you're saying so I can understand if I like it or not. Because like on
Mhm.
a lot of the songs, like his vocals were just so low, or they were covered by all this like textured layering of like not necessarily auto tune, but like effects, voice effects, and it's like I can't hear what you're saying, so I can't tell you if I like this song or not. But I'm like
Right.
every like I loved Steps Beach. I thought that was a really chill
Steps,
song,
such a good song. I
such a
love
good
Step
song.
Beats.
I didn't
Step
like
Beats.
track number 5. Didn't really like track number 6. Real Love, track 7, and I was listening to it with my wife too. And running around, I was like, is he making Disney 2000s pop rock right now? Because that's exactly what those songs reminded me of. I was taken back to like Good Luck Charlie. Like that's what it sounded like the opening. I'm like, like, what are we doing? There's so many genres on here. Because like he goes between like rock and R&B and all these different things. I
Right.
think it's like again, to me, I as a hip hop artist, I hate to say this, but to me, I feel like if you strip out some of the trap and the hip hop songs, you have like I feel like I have a concept there. But all those
Right.
other songs just took all the hip hop songs took me out of the concept. They took
Out it.
me out of the world and out of everything that was happening. And
Was
so
was it the extreme falsetto that he played around with a lot on those tracks?
some of it was, yeah. And like that song Legend,
Hmm.
where that was like some of that really extreme falsetto. Like I think that works. Like that works on Awaken My Love for songs like Redbone, because the rest of
Hmm.
the instrumentation is so chill and it complements it very well. But if you have
Right.
very exciting, intense, and heavy layered instrumentation, and then you throw a 5 octave falsetto on top of it, it's just a lot at once. And it's like
Mhm.
I don't know. Like it's just a little bit too much. I think like it's weird. I feel like if you cut like 6 or 7 songs off this album, it's really good. But
Yeah.
like if like the first song, Hearts Were Meant to Fly, I did really like that one. Like, as soon as I heard it, I was like, that's not a really good. I think Survive was a much better opener than
Survive.
like I feel
I
like he
I
should have
think
started with that one.
I totally agree. That's my thought exactly. I
Yeah,
thought that should have been the opener because I feel
right.
like that set the tone better for what you actually get. And I
Hmm.
feel that way about the single that released two, releasing Lithonia, because I love Lithonia.
It was a good
I thought
track.
that was
It was good.
such a unique and so different for
Nobody
Gambina.
gives a yeah. Hmm.
I loved it so much. And in my head, I thought, whoa, are we gonna get like a almost a rock opera? from Childish Gambino? Are we gonna get like these big like guitar based ballads at points?
You know what
And
it
it
reminded us of?
only what
Queen.
it
That was my
did.
comp.
It did kind of have Queen energy with
Yep.
just like how big and
Big.
how like layered some of like the
Mm-hmm.
vocals felt in the background, how it
Mm-hmm.
hit like a symphony of singers. I totally agree. I thought Lithonia, and I was so pumped when I heard that as a single because I thought I'm sure he's gonna rap, but I thought that it meant we were gonna get such a huge variety. To bring up one of my favorite albums of all time, Stadium Arcadium by the
Mm-hmm.
Red Hot Chili Peppers, how that album is just like here's like all the different subgenres of rock that we like and enjoy, and here's us being good at all of them.
Here's
Like
us being
that's
good.
that's what I love so much about that album. I thought I was gonna get something similar with Gambino here, of like we had the soulful R&B with Awaken My Love. We had the more like concept album with Because of the Internet. We've had the more like getting his bearings, but we had Camp where it was very like I don't mean juvenile as an insult, but
I
just
get
like
it. I
it's
get what
very,
you
very
mean. Yeah.
young and
Yeah.
like
Youthful.
kind of
Mm-hmm.
raw, youthful. And I thought maybe this is going to be like the next step plus like everything he's learned. And I don't feel like I got that at all. I feel like I got the rug pulled out from under me. And what we ended up getting, it feels way more focused as just like messy pop at times. And I feel so crushed that this isn't something grander because
Mm-hmm.
I love Lithonia. I love Survive, Steps Beach, and I was getting my hopes up with those three. I really like I actually do like the track with Amare and Flo Milli,
And Flo
believe it or
Milli.
not as much as the rest. I really enjoyed In the Night with
Mm-hmm.
Georgia. Yoshinoya, I really liked too. And the last two tracks, Happy Survival and A
I
Place
like
Where
those
Love
too.
Beats, I really enjoyed those. But the almost everything else in between felt like, why? What
Yeah.
is this? Isn't for as long as this album is and as how big it is, it feels so shallow. And especially what took me out too were these moments of uh like at the end of tracks, it would play clips of what sounds like little tags from the movie that hasn't come out. And I don't mean to compare these, but it reminded me of uh the last Spider-Verse movie that came out
Mm-hmm.
and the album that Metro Boomin put out. To me, the two Spider-Verse movies are the gold standard for a soundtrack that ties in with the movie.
Right.
I feel like I get the emotional stakes of the movie when I listen to the album. When I watch the movie, I can hear the songs and I feel like they complement the scenes perfectly.
Yep.
But at the same time, I can just go and I can listen to the album straight front to back, no skips, and enjoy the entire thing as its own separate thing. It doesn't have to be like I only like this because I really liked the movie it was from. It's just
Right.
this was great music. Same
Mm-hmm.
with Kendrick Lamar's album for the Black Panther movie. I feel like the same way. It felt really great on its own, but it also tied in well with the movie it came from. It feels so hard to judge this without having seen the movie, but just from what I get from the album itself is I do not feel like I get that kind of connected cohesion
Mm-hmm.
as I do to some of these other great companion albums to a movie. And especially for it to be a send off, this feels so lackluster in that sense.
Yeah, it feels like the concept was kind of used just to like create an artistic idea. It was like I have
Mhm.
a collection of songs in a movie coming out. Do the
Mhm.
songs in the movie have anything to do with each other? Well, they don't really have to. I can just say that they do, and then they will.
Right,
Because like I could hear some of the skits from the trailer, and I'm like, why? Like we need more of that. Like I feel like
right.
having more skits, like even if like you could have kept some of the same songs in here, but if you had more skits, more of those like little conversations or things, I would have
Hmm.
felt more like I'm in a concept right now. Like concept albums that
Right.
have a story, like I immediately go to The Incredible True Story by Logic.
Hmm.
If you really look at it, The Incredible True Story by Logic, most of the songs don't really have anything to do with the story itself. Like Logic isn't rapping about being in space and being stuck. He's just rapping about rapping. Like he's
Hmm.
not really talking, but it's a story about these astronauts going through space. But they have skits in it, and the
Hmm.
skits keep you in the story while you're listening to the album. And
Hmm.
so even if you are kind of like, I just kind of want a concept to like kind of go with my, like you said, Into the Spider-Verse, I loved because they actually talked about what was happening in the movie. I mean, they talked about like swinging through the buildings, swinging through the trees. Like they were talking about what it's like to be Miles Morales. They put
Right.
themselves in his shoes when they wrote those songs. And that's why I feel
Right.
like that one was so good because it was like this isn't just an artist being like, yes, I'm going to attach my name to this project and just do what I always do. Like I feel like they actually adjusted themselves to fit in the project. And so with this one, I just feel like it was too long. And like I said, I think if you take out some songs, that's why I'm like mixed. I don't really know how to rate it almostly because I'm like, I feel like you have a really solid album if you just wrote focus it a little bit more and take out some of the songs. Like to me, Real Love and Running Around is a perfect example. Both of those didn't have to be on there. You could have chosen. I liked I didn't like the feature on Running Around, but I liked it better than Real Love. And to
Hmm.
me, like that's a perfect example of like, okay, one of those can be cut because they're not
Hmm.
really doing anything to the story. They're kind of the same sound. And also, why are we going back to the 2000s right
Hmm.
now? Like, I can kind of see it as like one song, but like we're doing it twice. Why?
Right.
And so I think I kind of agree with you. It's like it's hard because it's like usually I think the biggest thing I can think of is like camp when Childish Gambino started out, he used his singing ability to complement his rap style. Like
Hmm.
he would lay these amazing hooks on camp and sometimes on his features, but he was always a rapper first, like rapper first,
Hmm.
and then I sang. And I feel like as he's evolved, that's changed. And that's changed. And now with this one, I feel like he's a singer first and a rapper second. And I feel like the rap part is almost like suffering. Like it feels like I'm not saying like he's like has to remember how to rap, obviously, but it's
Right.
like it's almost um like I don't know, it kind of feels like
There's
whenever
nothing
someone
here like
hears,
a sweatpants or a bonfire
yeah,
like
and
that
it's
we've had before. There's nothing where he's like a little bit more intense and really like more focused on on his flow and throwing out some bars.
and
Like
even
that
like
it
on
doesn't.
like on Firefly or just like some of his great feat like Firefly from Camp or some of his
Mhm.
great features like on Chant that one Chant song from Acid Rap or he did a song
Mhm.
with Rhapsody and he had a really great
Favorite
feature
song.
on there. It's like it feels like he's gotten so far away from rap. It's like I'm not saying like you should just drop it, but it's like I don't know. The raps aren't as strong as I thought they would be. And so to me that just leaves me as like if you take all of them out in a couple of the other songs, you have a good alternative R&B kind of pop album, but it's like other than that, it's again, it's like it's kind of like he's done like a full shift where now it feels like his rapping like complements his singing. But like when we think about like most artists aren't like singers and then they kind of rap a little bit too. Like Ed
Mhm.
Sheeran does that a little bit, and like we don't really think that much of
Mhm.
like his raps. Like I hate to say it like
Mhm.
that, but it's like you don't like go to Ed Sheeran like, oh wow, he's a great rapper. And like
No.
we used to go to Childish Gambino to be like, oh yeah, he's a great rapper. But like on
Right.
this album, I feel like I would be like, yeah, he's a great singer. And like, he does some rap stuff. Like if he didn't already rap before, if he didn't already have that, it would kind of be like, why is he rapping right now? Like I feel like that's how
Mhm.
we would react if we didn't already know how good of a rapper he actually is. And so but like I said, there's a lot of like I'm gonna listen to Lithonia probably a lot. I'm gonna listen to Steps Beach a lot.
Mhm.
And I think my favorite song might be the last one, A Place Where Love Goes, because I really liked, to me, that felt very similar to Because of the Internet, where it kind of had, and it kind of felt like Lithonia mixed with Because of the Internet, where it reminded me of that one song he did with Azalea Banks on Because of the Internet. I can't remember the name of it right now. It's escaping me. but it felt very big, very cinematic.
Hmm.
But it combined like hip hop and rock and R&B all in one track. And I
Hmm.
really like the hook and like the singers behind it. So I think that one and Steps Beach and Lithonia are the standouts for me. Um, you can almost, I'm not gonna say leave everything else, but there's a lot of like kind of forgettable tracks on here. And I think we both hit the nail on the head. I think Survive would have been a much stronger opener and have Lithonia still as track two, and then go right to Steps Beach. And like I said, I just wish I knew the story that was being told because I don't know if it went over my head, but I don't really think I got the story that was being told.
And
I mean,
and to that point, like I feel like he's done this before, or at least he's tried to do this before with because of the internet. Because he intended because of the internet to be exactly what Bando Stone in the New World is. Like he wrote a whole screenplay attached to because of the internet. It's a concept album, and the
mhm,
album itself tells a story thematically. It has many sketches. It has a conclusion. It has like a core, like fundamental concept. I don't get any of that from Bando Stone in the New World. This just feels like one of those, and this is the album to the major motion picture, Bando Stone in the New World. It doesn't feel like it's actually like a companion to it. It
mhm.
doesn't it doesn't feel like they are connected at a deeper thematic level, or at least that the album itself doesn't have this connective tissue. Now, obviously, I have not spent as much time looking into this album as I have because the internet. Um, but he did this before, and I don't think again, it can't really say how the movie is, but from the album itself, I'm not getting any of the things that made this idea and concept interesting or unique before here. And I'm
Yeah.
just it's really it's a huge bummer. I do not think this is the end of the Childish Gambino moniker. I really truly don't, because he had said that before, about, and then he said my next album's my last, and then he released Ada Vista. But at the time it was like 3/15/20, and then he said I'm not done yet, I got something else cooking, and then he remastered that one and then gave us this one. He says it's the goodbye. Again, I don't believe it. It's
You're not gonna,
probably no, I
no.
because we've heard too many artists say goodbye and then come back
Yeah.
5 years later.
Yeah, that's the way that it goes. So yeah, I mean, I guess that kind of wraps it up. I mean, I guess that wraps up my thoughts, I guess I should say, on this album. I don't know where I would rank it. I'd probably give it like a 6 or 7 out of 10, somewhere in between their range. Because again, I have to rank, I think, like you said, it's almost like an 8 or a 9 at its peak if I just remove a lot of the tracks I feel don't really fit or don't really make sense. Like, it's an 8 for me. But like I said, I gotta rate those in there because you chose to keep them on the album. So that's why
Oh,
it falls kind of at a 6.
I think
I
I
like
think
six O's. Yeah.
it'd probably rank lower for me just because of how much I was looking forward to this being better. I
Yeah.
will say it's probably more interesting than Adavista is,
Okay.
because Adavista just feels like more music. And I'm not done listening to it. For as critical as I may be, I do plan on still listening to this album more because I'm hopeful that there's more here, and I've just been too much at a surface level. I'm really
Yeah.
hoping that if I dig deeper, I will find the kind of storytelling that I'm looking for. And if I do, I think it would help me eat some of the tracks that I really don't care for, or that feel like big skips, and become something better. Or maybe the companion movie will come out and together it will all click, and this will then suddenly be oh my goodness, it's a masterpiece.
Yeah.
But as it stands right now, I can't.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get it. And I listened to it twice. But the
Mhm.
first time I listened to it, I listened to the whole thing. And then the second time I listened to it, I took out all the skips for me. And then
Mhm.
I was like, oh, yeah, like I have a much more positive view of it
Much
because
better.
I'm like, oh yeah, and just forget those songs and then we're good. So
Mhm.
yeah, so maybe we'll do Adavista sooner than later. Because I think that would be interesting to kind of revisit. Um, so yeah, so let us know your thoughts on the album. One thing we will have to discuss at some point, like I don't know if we'll have to dedicate an entire episode to it, but I just found out recently Kendrick Lamar has officially surpassed Drake as like right now the biggest hip hop artist in the world is Eminem because he just released his latest album. So he has the crown, but Drake has officially been surpassed by Kendrick Lamar, which is huge just in like hip hop every like if you want to say that you've won a beef, like again, we might have to do a whole episode just unpacking that because I've been like following the stats of their numbers and stuff just to see and like how many listeners this beef has really hurt Drake by. But that is something that as a hip hop fan who has known them since they started in like 2010, I would have never ever guessed. At the beginning of this beef, I would have never guessed it would have ended with Kendrick Lamar surpassing Drake. So,
Mhm.
yeah, sorry, that's like our own little trailer for like our next episode. Yeah. And so maybe when we see the movie, we can like
That's the
revisit
preview
it.
snippet.
Yeah. I'm like, maybe the movie, I wanted to do this like alongside the movie, but the movie isn't
Mhm.
coming out till I don't know. He said it's coming out some point in 2024. So,
Right.
and I feel like this is definitely a summer album. And maybe that was his biggest mistake. Like maybe you kind of needed to release the movie with this album. But I think he really wanted this to come out in summer. And it's like, okay, well, if that's the case, then you need the movie to come out in summer too. So, but like I said, for me, it ranks solid like 6.5. And if you just remove like 4 or 5 tracks, hey, we're at an 8. It's a great listen. So
Right.
yeah, those are my thoughts. So let us know your thoughts. Did you like the album? Were you impressed by it, disappointed by it? Where does it rank for you? And are you looking forward to the film if you are a Childish Gambino fan?
Yes. More than probably most things, I am most excited to hear what other people think of this album just because of my own personal investment in the artist itself.
Yeah, me
So
too. Because
I really want to hear what other people are thinking from this.
yeah, usually we talk before we do these things, so like we kind of know where each other is, but we didn't for this one.
Mhm.
So it was like our reactions were just as much as of a surprise to each other. But I think it was really cool that we agreed that Survive should have been the opener. So yeah,
Yeah.
so we would love to hear your thoughts as well. So let us know in the comments, and we will see you next time.
Until then.